Good day, learners. This is me, your accounting teacher, Sir AJ, and welcome back to my channel. So, for today, we will be discussing a new topic in a new subject. So, ang discussion natin for today is under the subject auditing. So, for today, we will be discussing the overview of the auditing profession. So, if you want to learn and be knowledgeable of the auditing subject, then this series of videos is for you. So, good day again, learners. So, tulad ng sinabi ko kanina, what we will be discussing today is under the subject auditing, and our first topic is overview of the auditing profession. This topic is very important for those na first time magte-take ng auditing subject. So this will lay down the foundation of the profession of auditing. First, we will be talking about the nature of auditing. Auditing is the accumulation and evaluation of evidence about information to determine and report on the degree of correspondence between the information and established criteria. So auditing, in the simplest terms, is ito yung paggagather natin ng evidence so that we will be able to make a report about what? We will be saying something about the correspondence or i-compare natin ang information at ang criteria. So, information versus criteria. Was the information prepared in accordance with a certain criteria? In addition, auditing should be done by a competent, independent person. Take note, if you are an auditor, you should be competent and most importantly, independent. If you are not independent, then you cannot give auditing services. So, himayin natin yung definition ng auditing and by starting with information and established criteria. Information should be verifiable versus criteria. These are the standards or the benchmarks, no? So, if you think about it, yung information ay prepare, dapat it should be prepared in accordance with a certain criteria or a standard. Information may be quantifiable. For example, mga financial statements. Or there can also be subjective, no? For example, yung mga effectiveness of systems. And criteria is dependent upon what information is audited. So kung anong klaseng information ang i-audit, iba din ang magiging criteria. So example, yung ino-audit natin ay financial statements, that is the information, then the criteria is PFRS. Because the financial statements are prepared in accordance with the criteria PFRS. Pag ang information naman na ino-audit natin ay internal control, then the criteria that we can use is the COSO framework. Kasi the internal control should be based on that COSO framework. Kapag naman ang information natin is about the corporate governance, then yung pwedeng criteria natin is yung SEC rules on corporate governance. So if you think about it, yung criteria ay magbabago depende kung anong information yung ino-audit ng isang auditor. But always remember that the work of an auditor is i-compare niya or i-ascertain niya yung degree of correspondence ng information versus sa criteria. So, if you are an auditor of a financial statement, what you are saying is whether or not the financial statements are prepared in accordance with PFRS. So, yun yung parang nagiging opinion or nagiging conclusion sa report ng isang auditor. Yung FS ba, prepare in accordance with the criteria which is the PFRS. Second is yung about accumulating and evaluating evidence. Take note that in audit, evidence is any information used by the auditor to determine whether the information being audited is stated in accordance with established criteria. Before we can make the report about whether the information is in accordance with the criteria, we need to gather evidence because the auditor cannot conclude about the information being prepared in accordance with the criteria if walang evidence. So the auditor should accumulate and evaluate evidence. These are the forms of evidence. We can use the transaction data or yung data ng company. We can also use communications with outsiders. We can send letters to outsiders like suppliers, banks, customers, etc. We can also make use of our own observations as auditors, and we can also ask the client for their testimony or inquire about something, and that is also a form of evidence. The important thing to take note is that the auditor must obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence to satisfy the purpose of the audit. Sufficiency is about the quantity or volume ng evidence, while appropriateness is about the quality of the audit evidence. Next is we will talk about competent and independent person. It is a requirement for the auditor to be competent and independent. On competence, the auditor should be qualified to understand the criteria used. Ibig sabihin, if you are the auditor of a financial statement, then dapat alam mo din yung PFRS because that is the criteria. And then you should also know the types and amounts of evidence to accumulate in order to reach the proper conclusion. And this is governed by quality control or the Philippine Standards on Quality Control, PSQC, which we'll be talking about in another video. This somehow ensures competence from the auditors. Second, on independence, the auditor must not be biased in the accumulation and evaluation of evidence. So dapat walang bias. You should be independent. And even internal auditors, no, kahit yung mga internal auditors, kahit na employed sila ng company, they should still be independent. And we must be independent of mind and in appearance. Ibig sabihin nito, independence tayo when it comes to our mental state and in appearance in the public. So, these are governed by the Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants in the Philippines. The Code of Ethics will explain to us what are the threats to independence and how can we safeguard or what safeguards to place para ma-avoid yung mga threats to independence na to, which we will be talking about in another video as well. And finally, sa definition natin is yung reporting. The final stage in the auditing process is preparing the audit report, which communicates the auditor's findings to users. This is where we will put our conclusion. Ano ba? Is the information in accordance with the criteria or hindi? Or something else? So that is the final stage, the audit report. Reports differ in nature but all must inform readers of the degree of correspondence between the information audited and the established criteria. So always remember that ang goal natin as an auditor is to report about the degree of correspondence between the information and the established criteria. Reports also differ in form and can vary from highly technical type, usually associated with financial statement audits, to a simple oral report in the case of an operational audit of a small department's effectiveness. So they can vary in form and in nature, but the same ang kanilang purpose, and that is to inform readers about the degree of correspondence between the information and the established criteria. So the audit process, since we were able to discuss the steps is yung reporting yung last. So nagsisimula talaga yan sa pre-engagement activities, acceptance ng client, which we'll be talking about in the series of videos dito sa auditing playlist natin. Next is yung planning activities. Before we gather evidence, we need to plan first. And then yung step number 3 is evidence gathering. And finally, yung reporting or the preparation of the audit report. So that is the audit process. Now, what is the distinction between accounting and auditing? So, siguro when you are a student of accounting, you always think that they are the same, but they are not. Accounting is the recording, classifying, and summarizing of economic events to provide financial information for decision making. So ang accounting, paggawa ng FS, paggawa ng financial information. While auditing, focus on determining whether the recorded information properly reflects the economic events that occurred during the accounting period. Meaning, we are certifying or we are saying that the financial information is in accordance with the criteria. That is the work of an auditor. In addition to understanding accounting, auditors must possess expertise in the accumulation and interpretation of audit evidence. So as auditors, dapat magaling ka sa accounting at the same time sa auditing. Why do we need to audit? Bakit kailangan ng auditors? May demand ba for auditing? The answer is yes. Because of information risk. Information risk, this reflects the possibility na yung financial information na nasa FS upon which a business decision was made was inaccurate. So there is a possibility na yung mga creditors at investors na nagre-rely sa financial statements, may risk na yung decision nila magiging mali because yung information na nasa financial statement mali din. So, auditing of financial information reduces that information risk para dun sa mga users ng financial information. Example, mga creditors and investors. So information risk can be caused by remoteness of information. No? Dahil sobrang hindi yung mga users, yung creditors at investors, they cannot access the information. So it might be a cause of information risk. Another cause is yung bias and motives ng provider. Maybe because they want their loan to be approved or they want more investors, they might have the bias or the motive na gawing maganda yung financial statement nila kahit na hindi totoo. So that is also a cause of information risk. Number 3, voluminous data. Sa sobrang dami ng data, hindi na natin napapansin na may mga nagiging mistakes na pala or misstatements sa financial statement. And complex transactions. No? Ngayon, as transactions get complex, mas dumadami din yung mga misstatements. No? Because dahil complex yung transaction, mahirap din silang i-account. So how do we reduce information risk? Pwedeng number 1, user, yung creditor at lender or investor, verifies information themselves. They may go to the business to verify the information. But this is costly and impractical. Number 2, the user shares information risk with management. Management may be held responsible in a lawsuit if inaccurate information is provided. So pwede rin yun, share tayo sa risk. Or the number 3 and the most practical way is audited financial statements are provided. So dito na pumapasok yung external auditors to provide assurance that the financial statements are reliable because the auditors are the ones saying that the financial statements are prepared in accordance with PFRS or in accordance with the standard. So, yung audit, it's just one of the many services that a CPA can provide. So, we will talk about what are the different services that a CPA in the profession can provide. So, we will talk about assurance and maybe non-assurance services. So what is an assurance service? An assurance service is an independent professional service that improves the quality of information for decision makers. So take note, parang audit din to because it improves the quality of information para gagamitin ng decision makers. Now, assurance services can be provided by CPAs or other professionals. And assurance services by CPAs have been common for years, especially regarding historical financial statement information or yung financial statement. And meron tayong another service called Attestation Service. What is an Attestation Service? An attestation service is a type of service in which the CPA issues a report about a subject matter or assertion that is made by another party. So parang audit na naman to. Merong subject matter na ginawa ang isang party, which is the financial statement. Tapos ang CPA gagawa ng report about that subject matter or that financial statement. That is an attestation service. This is one category of assurance service. So, ibig sabihin pala, pag ito yung assurance service, under sa kanya yung attestation services. Primary categories of attestation services under attestation services include the following. Audits of historical financial statements. So, ibig sabihin pala, ang audit is just one category of attestation services, which is attestation service, another category of assurance service. So, take note, all audits are attestation services, but not all attestation services are audits. All audits are assurance services, but not all assurance services are audits kasi may iba pa. Okay? So don't forget the hierarchy. Another category of attestation service is audits again of internal control. So iba naman yung subject matter. Kanina yung subject matter ng audit financial statement, ngayon internal control. Number 3, review of historical financial statement. You will know later on in another video that a review is different from audit, although they are under the same category, they are under the umbrella of attestation service. And there are also other attestation that may be applied to a broad range of subjects. Under assurance, meron tayong attestation, tapos meron din tayong iba. Yung ibang yon ang tawag sa kanila other assurance services. So other assurance services do not meet the definition of attestation. A written report is not required and it need not be about reliability or compliance. Example nito is yung mga kunwari may makita kayo Miss Universe or The Voice, tapos sasabihin that the results were audited by SGV and company. So that is another assurance service. It improves the quality of information of the results. So that is assurance, pero it does not meet attestation service definition. So dito siya sa other assurance services. Examples, mystery shopping. Ito yung performing anonymous shopping to assess sales personnel dealings with customers and procedures they follow. And another yung mga ISO 9000 certifications. Certify a company's compliance with ISO 9000 quality control standards which help ensure company products are of high quality. So these are other assurance services. Kung meron tayong assurance service, meron din tayong non-assurance service. So dahil non-assurance service sila, they do not give assurance. They do not provide quality or lend quality or add quality to the information. So these are non-assurance services. Independence is not required since no assurance is provided. Meaning, independence is only required sa mga assurance service. Sa lahat ng assurance service. Attestation, other assurance, etc. Examples ng non-assurance services, accounting and bookkeeping services, tax services, management consulting services. So kapag ito yung mga binigay mong service, independence is not required. Pero, if you give an accounting service, meaning ikaw na yung nag-prepare ng financial statements, you cannot give an audit service because hindi ka na independent technically. No? So, you cannot give an accounting service or a management consulting service and an audit service at the same time to the same client. So to summarize everything, if you take a look at this, here we see this are the services are broadly divided into two. We have assurance services and we have non-assurance services. So under assurance, meron tayong dalawa. Meron tayong attestation services at meron tayong other assurance services. Under attestation, meron tayong audits at meron tayong reviews. Take note that the standards governing audits is the PSA or the Philippine Standards on Auditing. For review services, the standard that governs is PSRE or Philippine Standards on Review Engagements. For other assurance services, the standard that governs is PSAE or Philippine Standards on Assurance Engagements. Dito naman sa non-assurance services, meron tayong bookkeeping, tax, management consulting, meron tayong agreed upon procedures that is under PSRS, Philippine Standards on Related Services. And take note, may nilagay ako dito, for PSQC or Philippine Standards on Quality Control and Code of Ethics, etong dalawang to, ito ay applicable sa lahat ng services regardless kung assurance or non-assurance. You have to abide by the PSQC and the Code of Ethics. So the last topic natin for this video lecture is the types of audits and the types of auditors. For the types of audits, there are three. The first one is operational audit. In this one, it evaluates the efficiency and effectiveness of any part of an organization's operating procedures and methods. More of, ino-audit mo yung operations. Number two is compliance audit. It determines whether the auditee or the client is following some specific procedure, rule, or regulation set by some higher authority. So for compliance audit, you audit more of complying on rules or laws. And the third one, and the most common, is the financial statement audit, wherein we determine whether the financial statements are stated in accordance with PFRS. For the type of auditors, we also have three as well. So the first ay yung mga CPA firms or yung mga like Ernst & Young, SGV, PwC, etc. We also have government auditors, yung mga auditors na nasa COA. No, they are called government auditors. And finally, we have internal auditors or those employed by private companies. No, so although they are employed, again, they need to be independent. Even government auditors, yung COA, they should be independent because audit is an assurance service. Therefore, independence is non-negotiable. So that would be all for today. So now, it is your time to test your knowledge. If you know the answers to these questions, comment your answer down below sa video na to so that I can reply and acknowledge if tama yung naging answer mo. Question number 1, which of the following best describes why an independent auditor is asked to express an opinion on the fair presentation of financial statements? A. It is difficult to prepare financial statements that fairly present a company's financial position, operations, and cash flows without the expertise of an independent auditor. B. It is management's responsibility to seek available independent aid in the appraisal of the financial information shown in its financial statement. C. The opinion of an independent party is needed because a company may not be objective with respect to its own financial statements. Or D. It is a customary courtesy that all stockholders of a company receive an independent report on management stewardship of the affairs of the business. And question number 2, which of the following professional services is an attestation engagement? A. A consulting service engagement to provide computer processing advice to a client. B. An engagement to report on compliance with statutory requirements. C. An income tax engagement to prepare income tax returns. Or D. the preparation of financial statements from a client's financial records. Again, if you know the answer to these questions, comment your answer down below. So thank you very much guys for reaching this point and listening to our discussion. If you have questions, you may message me sa aking mga social media accounts. Please do like, comment, and share this video para ma-reach natin ang iba pa nating mga friends at classmates at mga students na hindi pa nakakanood ng mga videos natin. If you like more of this video, please comment down below kung gusto mo ng mga more auditing videos. And kapag nakakalimutan mo pa at hindi ka pa nakaka-subscribe, please do subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell para maging notified ka kung may bago akong video. So thank you very much, learners, and please do remember that every day is a new opportunity to learn something new. So that would be all for today, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!